Meola making his 52nd appearance. One of 6 new starters in this game. Number 21, Fernando Clavijo. Number 17, regular Marcelo Balboa. Third defender, another one of the new players in the lineup, number 15, Desmond Armstrong. And then yet another new one, number 22, Bruce Savage. In the midfield, regular Brian Quinn. One of the other new players, number 2, Janusz Michallik. Number 13, getting one of his first starts at all with the U.S. team, number 13, Mark Chung. Number 4, the most capped player for the United States team, Bruce Murray. Number 7 up front, Hugo Perez. And finally, the speedster, number 12, Ernie Stewart.
And now for the visitor, Australia.
For the Australian team, you got to look at the leader of this team in terms of the defensive core, number 4, Ned Zellick. He's a product of Australian soccer, played with the U14 team, U17 team, U19 Olympic team. He's played at all the different levels for Australia, and he's going to be the last core of defense for the Australian team. Then in the midfield, look at the captain of the team, Paul Wade, the most capped player for the Australian players, 64 times, and then up front is a lone striker, number 9, Warren Spink.
There you have them, our Coca-Cola lineups. We're set to kick it off. We'll be back with Australia and the United States World Cup team when we come back in just a moment. The World Series of Soccer.
School of Hard Knocks. History. The heavyweight champ for 7 straight years was Larry Holmes. Anatomy. The Holmes hammer. The most devastating jab in boxing. Mathematics. Evander Holyfield. Biceps 17 inches. Reach 77 inches. Career wins 27-22 by knockout.
School's in session. You got a lot to learn.
Live from Caesar's Palace, Budweiser presents Holyfield versus Holmes. Friday, June 19th. Live on pay-per-view.
Nicholas dreams of being a baseball player. But Nicholas has Cooley's anemia, also known as thalassemia, a fatal genetic blood disorder that primarily strikes people of Mediterranean descent. The Cooley's Anemia Foundation conducts national programs that provide patient services, research and fellowships, and public education. The Cooley's Anemia Foundation helps thousands of children like Nicholas. To find out more, call these toll-free numbers.
100. To launch yourself into the world of air and space Smithsonian, a world that captivates the imagination. Satellites, superjets, soaring, something different every other month. There's no other magazine like Air and Space, and with your subscription comes membership in the National Air and Space Museum in Washington.
To order Air and Space, call 800-841-0300 and receive a full year. 6 issues for just $18 with membership in the National Air and Space Museum. 800-841-0300.
Get on basketball's fast track with the World Basketball League Game of the Week.
Las Vegas showtime. Yeah!
The WBL Game of the Week, only on Sports Channel America. This weekend, we're throwing you a line you can't resist. Go fishing and hunting with some of America's leading experts in the field or in the water. Spend some time with the best in outdoors. See it exclusively on Sports Channel America.
Welcome back to the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. It's Australia against the United States World Cup team. I'm Randy Hunt along with Rick Davis. We're glad you're along as the World Series of Soccer continues. There is the United States World Cup team huddling at midfield and talking over what's in store over the next 90 minutes as they hope to continue what has been a tremendous stretch of games. The U.S. unbeaten in their last 3 on the year. They are 4 wins, 7 losses, and 2 ties, but the most notable coming most recently when they tied Italy a week ago. That's number 13, a newcomer, making his first ever appearance for the United States in a starting role, Mark Chung in midfield. And the reason you see those patches in midfield that are kind of trampled on, the World Football League has a franchise here, the Orlando Thunder, rather appropriately named. It's been booming around here the past couple of days, and they've done their business here on this field over the past season. That season, of course, is now over, but the field is still recovering. And we are underway. Australia in the yellow and green to our left, and attacking left to right in the United States in the predominantly white with red and blue. And we are underway in this first ever meeting between the United States and Australia, and who knows, with a World Cup coming up in 2 years, perhaps some meeting to come in the future. This is number 7 for Australia, Ernie Tapai. He is a 23-year-old, and this is a mix of young and veteran players on this Australian team. A good core, though, coming from their Olympic team, which has qualified to play in Barcelona. And we will get into that a little bit, but it was a very surprising qualification that got them to the upcoming Olympics, which of course the United States will also be competing in. And supposes there could be a meeting between these countries then. But for now, the ball in the United States half, and Australia with it. Number 8, Tony Vidmar, playing it back to number 4, Ned Zelich, who you talked about, Rick, at the opening as being one of the promising defenders. He's also a great attacking defender. He scores goals, and we'll watch for number 4 in that capacity today as well.
Yeah, he has certainly done an incredible job as a defender. That much more incredible when you realize the fact that it was only about a year and a half ago that he moved from an attacking position to a defensive one.
Tapai, number 7 now, working it up the wing for Australia, knocking it back, and Hugo Perez for the United States, wearing number 7. There's Hugo. Kicks it out of play for an Australia throw-in. Quickly tossed back along the sideline for Tapai and kicked out again by number 21, Fernando Clavijo.
Randy, early on here, Australia has shown some very good patience and ball control in moving the ball forward, not really allowing the United States team a touch yet.
Number 2, Milan Blagojevich, throwing it in from the side, and it was a great throw in, getting it right into the 18-yard box, and now an offside flag comes up. That'll go against Australia, and the United States will start back out. There's our referee, Ed Cummings. In fact, our entire officiating crew here in Orlando is a U.S.-based crew, which was not the case in the U.S. Cup, where the officials were from countries all over the area. There's Tony Meola, as you mentioned, Rick, making his 52nd appearance in goal for the United States here against Australia. Number 14, Brian Quinn, back to Bruce Savage, who's back on defense again after an absence of a few games. Bruce making his 15th appearance for the U.S. and his 8th this year. As Marcelo Balboa playing it deep, looking for speedy Ernie Stewart. It comes back to Janusz Michallik. Now Stewart and number 13, Mark Chung, miscommunicating a little bit as the Australian defense is able to clear it out, and it will come back as a throw-in for Australia.
And Randy, you mentioned the Australian defense, somewhat unique in the scope of soccer as it's played today around the world. They actually have 5 solid defenders, realizing that the United States team has a potent attack, the ability to score goals, as was demonstrated in the U.S. Cup a week ago. But I think as the basis for having so many defenders allows these defenders that, if need be, match up defensively. More importantly, though, that they can come forward and attack from a defensive posture.
Series of turnovers by both teams here, and number 10, Vlado Bozanowski, playing it on the offside, and this will come back USA ball. As you look at number 10, Bozanowski plays for Sporting Lisbon in Portugal in their first division, and of course we've just had the association with the Portuguese national team, having played the United States in Chicago a little more than a week ago, the U.S. winning that game 1-0. Here's Perez now, after falling, gets back up. Good sliding effort by Blagojevich, number 2 for Australia. And now this is Tapai, number 7. Blagojevich, one of those Olympians that will go to Barcelona in a little over a month. Back to number 5, Mehet Gorakovic. Blagojevich trying to work his way through the defense, and it'll come back out for USA ball on the throw-in.
Randy, the Australian team there doing a good job of eliminating or alleviating the first line of defense in terms of pressure. The United States team had moved 3 or 4 players over to within the vicinity of the ball. Australia doing a good problem-solving situation there by getting around that and then getting able to go at the goal.
Ball out again, and the United States will bring it back in. As we look at number 4, Ned Zelich, of whom we spoke. Their Olympic qualifying came down to a home-and-home series with the Netherlands. Of course, Holland, a world soccer power. And after tying 1-1 in Australia with Holland, the Aussies went over to the Netherlands and on the road tied them 2-2 to earn the Olympic berth on an away goals basis. Now back comes Australia, the United States swarming their defense around the front of the 18-yard box. A good job to converge on the ball carrier, and then it's cleared back to Meola.
Good solid effort there by Desmond Armstrong, because as that play was developing, he had tripped at half line or about midfield and had to get up, accelerate to catch up with the player, and then get back and make the tackle away from the ball.
Ernie Stewart, and this will come back throw in USA. There's Stewart making his 2nd start for the United States. This is his 7th appearance. Perez on the distribution, received it, and then gave it away. And now quickly cleared up field for the forward, number 9, Warren Spink, but this will go out, and the United States will throw it in from their own half. There's Spink, number 9, born in England, but lives in Melbourne, Australia now. And we'll look for him up front throughout, as Marcelo Balboa has it for the United States, wide to Fernando Clavijo. Balboa, who's played in all 17 of the games coming into this one this year for the U.S., so we'll give him number 18 today. He has not missed a start or a game. Now this is Zelic. Back to Robert Zabika, the goalkeeper for Australia. A 28-year-old veteran, plays for Adelaide City in the Australian National Soccer League. Blagojevic looking up front for Spink, and Desmond Armstrong back in his starting capacity for the United States, clearing it upfield. Hugo Perez ran into the referee, missed that pass. Now back come Australia, but Perez, or check that, Balboa is called for an obstruction foul in midfield, and now Australia will get a free kick. We'll call this one 35 yards out as the Australians get set to put this into play. Zelic chipping it into the box. Up high it goes. Armstrong there to head it out, and up for Mark Chung. Chung muscled off the ball and cleared back as the Australians will get possession. Poor pass there as Balboa intercepts. Now Brian Quinn. He'll change directions, or try to, but it's stolen. And the run up from the back by Tony Vidmar, number 8, and then the foul. And Vidmar will stay down.
The U.S. World Cup soccer team is proud to send one lucky fan.
The Australian trainers on the sidelines looking for permission to come onto the field. As of yet, referee Ed Cummings saying no. Tony Vidmar, number 8, 21 years of age. And now the trainer is on the field, so we will have a break in the action. No score here at the Citrus Bowl, the United States and Australia, and we'll be back on the World Series of Soccer.
The winner will be announced just before halftime.
While we were away, Tony Vidmar got up. He's all right. We're back underway with the ball in midfield. Brian Quinn for the United States. Back to Marcelo Balboa. No score here at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. First soccer game involving the United States national team in this facility since 1980. It's been a 12-year absence, and the crowd here is glad to see it back. This is one of the 9 World Cup sites for 1994 as well. 14 Quinn over to Desmond Armstrong. Now Bruce Savage ahead to number 12 Stewart, tackled from behind, and the foul against Australia. And that's the guilty man right there, as the U.S. will set up on the far edge of the penalty area. Number 3, Alex Tobin. And now Stewart over the ball along with Hugo Perez. 24 yards out from the Australian goal in this scoreless tie. There's a look from behind the Australian net.
You got to be thinking the U.S. team is looking for Bruce Murray here. Bruce does exceptionally well in the air.
Stewart looks for Murray. Number 4 getting it, I think, off the side of his head, perhaps. Now Mark Chung keeping it alive. Janusz Michallik, number 2, playing it back in. Murray chasing it down, and this will go out for goal kick, Australia. Still scoreless here at the Citrus Bowl. We'll be back in just a moment.
The United States World Cup soccer team
Get enough of America's first World Cup? You will in Soccer America. How about our national team and the Olympics? Soccer America delivers.
I've been reading Soccer America ever since I went head-to-head against Pelé back in the 70s. I like Soccer America because it profiles personalities. It reports on the pro, college, women's, and international scenes, and focuses on the very pulse of soccer in America.
Call toll-free to learn more about Soccer America, the USA's only national soccer weekly. 18 issues, just $19.94. Call 1-800-453-6500 now.
Come on, 1 inch, Father. Let's go.
Snickers Bar, the official snack food sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. Packed with fresh roasted peanuts, thick milk chocolate, and caramel, Snickers satisfies the hunger inside you. There's a hunger inside you.
Number 4, Ned Zelic, the captain of the Australian Olympic team that is Barcelona bound. With the ball now, it is scoreless. Randy Hahn and Rick Davis, and we're glad you're along here at the Citrus Bowl on this warm, humid evening in Central Florida. There's been rain and thunderstorms in the area all day. Meola handling this one easily. In fact, it rained not more than an hour before kickoff, but hopefully the skies will be kind to us throughout our game here. Australians on the attack. Number 8, Tony Vidmar, wide on the left side, working against Bruce Savage. Now Bruce Murray coming in to help out. This is Aurelio Vidmar, one of the 2 Vidmar brothers in this starting lineup. He has trouble with Savage as well. Wanted to foul, but doesn't get it.
Randy, Australia in that situation does a good job to draw people over into the area, but then they've got to play it across the goal.
Fernando Clavijo working it across the field as the United States rather patient in its approach so far in this game. Of course, they're coming off a series of games where they played 3 times inside of a week. And there has to be some fatigue as well, but of course there's a lot of new blood in this lineup as well. The battle continues for possession, and now a foul. It goes against Armstrong as Blagojevich, number 2, was on the receiving end.
Randy, in this situation here for Australia, they've got a couple of people that can really smack the ball from a good distance away. I might expect that we would see number 4 moving forward, Ned Zelic, to do just that.
Zelic back of the ball right now as Bozanowski sets it down. There's the U.S. wall. Referee setting the U.S. defense. Australians asking for some more consideration as far as how the wall's assembled. Bozanowski still talking to the referee, and he says play on. Now Quinn's going to be asked to move back a step or so.
Yeah, Randy, while this is going on, one of the concerns that I've got is number 4, Ned Zelic, over on the far side, is just out of our screen. The United States team has not moved over to adjust to him.
The ball played nicely to the front of the 6-yard box. Savage to head it away. Now Armstrong trying to chase it down ahead of Warren Spink. It will go out for U.S. ball on the throw-in. This is the first game this year for the Australian national team. Because of the mix of players being such as it is, they've been concentrating on their Olympic qualifying bid, as we mentioned, and have thus qualified for the Barcelona games. Now they'll get into the World Cup qualifying mode, as they will have to qualify through a number of groups, really. For Australia to get to the World Cup, it will be a long and arduous task. Shot from outside, handled easily by Meola, as Tony Vidmar unloaded. No score here in the first half, officially or unofficially. About 30 minutes remaining. We're into the 15th minute of this first half. Zelic, who covers a lot of field getting from the defense back up front, trying to clear that one. And now a handball called, and the United States will get its best dead ball opportunity of the game so far on the free kick in front of the Australian penalty area as Hugo Perez. You see there, number 7 will likely be involved.
Randy, these types of situations end up being very, very dangerous for teams to play against because We call this a set play, which is one of the few opportunities that a team is allowed to really diagram a play where you can set people in certain positions, move them off of those positions in order to try to get somebody open for a scoring opportunity.
They're moving this one a lot further back than we initially thought.
And Bruce has shown that he can shoot from this range, and although Marcelo Balboa is standing closest to the ball, Bruce has got that approach on a shot look about him.
Murray to take it right into the defender, and now we are going to get a card, and the United States is going to get to do this over again. Number 5, Mehmet Durakovic, gets the yellow card. He had encroached on the free kick, and we will get a restart of the free kick, as Murray is glad for that.
Randy, on the replay, watch him run forward right now. He's already moving well inside of the 10-yard range when Bruce actually strikes the ball, which is the rule requirement, that the player must be 10 yards away at the time the ball is played.
Now Marcelo Balboa, 17. The dummy run over it. Now Murray, and it's just wide. Bruce Murray with a very authoritative strike of the ball, and that one didn't miss by much, Rick.
Yeah, on this angle here, we'll get to see Bruce running up and striking it, and the ball has bend on it. See the rotation of it going just wide of that right post there. Bruce showing that he can shoot from that range. Replay here again is the shot going just wide, maybe a foot and a half or so off that post there. Bruce trying to bring it towards the goal by striking the ball a little bit off center. He scored a spectacular goal back in the Gold Cup against, I believe it was Mexico, which was of the same range, and just an incredible power that Bruce generates on the ball when he shoots.
Australia in the yellow. Ball through. This is number 9, Spink, crossing to the other side. Looks for Aurelio Vidmar, number 11. This will go all the way across and out for the United States. Ball on the throw-in. As Bruce Murray makes his way back upfield, he was man marking on the other side there against the forward Spink. Murray coming in as the most decorated of U.S. players. In his 73rd game, he has 17 career goals as the United States national team forward. Hasn't scored this year, but he's coming off a lingering and very painful hamstring injury, which will probably limit his play today to just 1/2. That has been the game plan of Bora Milutinovic, the head coach of the U.S. team, for the last 3 or 4 games. And throughout the U.S. Cup, Murray comes in, starts, plays a half, and then sits down as he regains his match fitness.
And so much of goal scoring is all about confidence, and to gain that confidence, you need to be playing.
Here's Zelic. Talk about confidence. This young man is brimming with it as he loses possession, but it comes free to Spink. Spink, the little cross. He looked for Tapai up front, but nicely cleared away. Now Stewart battling for possession, but Australia will get it again. Durakovic, number 5. Back to Zelic. Now Blagojevic, number 2. Nice ball through to the right side. Tapai, number 7. Clavijo hurrying back. Far post, chance for Aurelio Vidmar, and he just misses with the left footer. And a goal kick coming up for the U.S. But first we pause, still scoreless here in Orlando.
Why is the new phone card from Sprint not just another calling card? Now your card number is based on your home number, so it's easy to use. It'll deliver a message for you, even to someone whose line is busy. Lets you set up your own 3-way conference calls. Info hotline lets you check stocks, weather, sports, even news. Call now and it even comes with 100 minutes free. Try getting all that with another phone company's calling card.
Equipment, a new line of performance footwear.
Randy Hahn and Rick Davis back with you at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida. Hugo Perez just across the halfway line, getting set for a free kick. A scoreless tie here in this historic first ever meeting between these two national teams. Perez, a long cross, looking for Murray again there on the back post, but Robert Zubika getting up and hauling that one down. Now an offside against Australia, and we will get a free kick for the U.S.
Well, actually, Randy, Ed Cummings there doing the right thing from an official's perspective.
Now we'll break here for a moment and throw you our Adidas trivia quiz. How many times has Australia played in the World Cup? And we will have the answer for you in just a couple of minutes.
Randy, on that play there, Ed Cummings doing the right thing from an official's perspective, because yes, the player was offside for Australia, but no need to stop the game because clearly the United States gained possession of the ball.
Blagojevic chips it offside again, and Tapai is going to get to this, but the yellow flag had come up, and the United States will free kick it again. Well, there's your answer. Australia was in the World Cup. It was won and one time only back in 1974 in West Germany, when they tied one game 0-0 with Chile, but lost their other two. They did not score a goal in that World Cup, but they did make it to the World Cup. And as we mentioned, it's going to be really tough for Australia in the future to try and get out of all the different groups just to make it. They're going to need an exceptional team, and first off, really have to get out of their region and past their arch rival New Zealand, who, despite being a considerably smaller country in that area of the world, continues to give Australia problems in every sport, from America's Cup to World Cup. They are bitter and arch rivals, the Aussies and the Kiwis. As the ball comes back to Tony Meola, a little whistle or two out of the crowd who wants to see the U.S. go forward. But they have been a team that has been going forward ever since Bora Milutinovic arrived. He has stressed that kind of play. We saw it time in and time out in the U.S. Cup games, particularly so against Ireland in the 3-1 United States win, when the U.S. battled back from a 1-0 deficit with 3 unanswered goals. Now a nice ball played up the right side. This is Bruce Savage. Savage cutting it back. Mark Chung was there, but Savage put him way past the ball, or put the ball past Chung. The U.S. gets it back at Perez. Has to hurry his pass. He was upended by Aurelio Vidmar. Now it's Balboa, number 17. Clavijo, nice move, lost his man Zelic. And now crossed by Michallik. And that stays in as Perez will try and bicycle kick it up to Savage, and does. Good bit of work by Perez. Now Savage, the cross for Michallik, back through the middle. Balboa can't catch up to it. Chung getting way up high, out jumping Bozanowski. And finally Aurelio Vidmar will clear it to midfield. Back to Savage. Now Chung settles it for Quinn. This will go out. And we have an injured player, Ernie Stewart rather. Down at the other end, or at the end to our left, is Bora Milutinovic looks on with some concern as his lone forward, really, Ernie Stewart, number 12, is in some discomfort as the U.S. training staff comes onto the field. And as they work on Stewart, we will take a break here. Still no score in the first half at the Citrus Bowl on the World Series of Soccer.
Snickers Bar, the official snack food sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. Packed with fresh roasted peanuts, thick milk chocolate, and caramel, Snickers satisfies the hunger inside you.
There's a hunger inside. Dad, I did it. Hunger inside you.
There is Ernie Stewart back on his feet now after taking an elbow, but he'll be all right apparently as we are back underway with the United States in white with the ball in this scoreless tie here in the first half in the warmth and humidity here in Central Florida. Temperatures in the mid to high 90s over the past couple of days. Here's Clavijo. Quinn now across for Perez. Vidmar read this well. Aurelio Vidmar can't get by Desmond Armstrong at center. Back comes Australia again. Now Vidmar looked over at the linesman, but the offside flag was up. He kind of had an inkling that it might be.
Randy, you live by the sword and you die by it. The United States team playing an offside trap, which is simply to move all of your players forward at the time the ball is played forward in order to try and catch one of the opposing team players in an offside position. I think the United States team got a little lucky there because players were a little late in moving forward, thereby, I think, leaving the player in an onside position.
Nice interplay here as it comes to Quinn. Leaps past Bozanowski. Savage. Past Murray. And let's see if this goes corner or not as it goes other side of the flag. But I believe it came off Janusz Michallik last. And it will be goal kick for Australia as you see Bruce Murray again. Well, this, as we mentioned, will be a World Cup site, and no doubt by July of 1994, it will also be rather warm and humid here. I think this may be one of the primary attraction sites for fans of the World Cup because, of course, of Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, and all the other many attractions in this area. From a player standpoint, it may be one of the least attractive because of the humidity factor.
I think in terms of the consideration of what time of the year you actually stage the World Cup, from my perspective, I always enjoyed playing at a time of year when it was cooler rather than warmer, and to play during the summer months here in the United States is tough.
Chance for Australia as this one is cleared out, and this will find its way almost into the seats. Fernando Clavijo releasing that one. There's a happy Floridian, happy that the World Cup is coming here. This was, in many people's estimation in Florida, a surprise sight, winning out over Miami and the Tampa St. Pete area. Ball out now and a corner kick for Australia. Marcelo Balboa takes his position in the middle of the 6-yard box as the Aussies get set for the corner. Scoreless here in the first half. That's Bozanowski, number 10, getting set to deliver. And Meola will simply grab this one with ease. And Aurelio Vidmar hauls Meola down. And perhaps there was some bumping ahead of that infraction. But the payback by Vidmar was what is called, and he will get a lecture from referee Ed Cummings and a foul, of course, against Australia.
And what we've seen as we get a look at a replay here, after Tony has clearly caught the ball, now watch him grab a hold, or first he stumbles, then he grabs a hold of Tony's pants, not letting him go forward, and just simply pulls him to the ground. Clearly, Australia has shown that they don't mind mixing it up a little bit. They're playing very, very physically, and in most instances are actually winning the physical battle that exists in the sport.
Vidmar getting a little cheeky with Meola there. He plays in Belgium and is one of their several internationals that plays abroad. Of course, Belgian soccer is outstanding. And his younger brother, number 8, Tony Vidmar, who's 21 and on the Olympic team, is, we are told, Belgium bound after Barcelona. As soon as the Olympic competition is complete, he will join his brother, at the very least, in that country. It's unknown at this point if he'll join Aurelio for that club team in Belgium.
And Randy, one can draw a lot of parallels to what is happening with soccer in Australia, as we have seen here in the United States.
Here's Michallik on the pass from Murray. Back through the middle, but behind everyone and too far in front of Murray. And it's cleared out again. That one had so much potential as Michallik made a nice run down the left wing.
Good job by the U.S. team to get him open down the sideline for a wide open cross, as it was though the cross wasn't going where it needed to be.
Mark Chung from the University of South Florida to Michallik again. Partially deflected, and they are going to bring it back. Let's get another look at Michallik's cross.
Here we see Michallik wide open. Now, instead of playing the ball behind the defenders, which is where it probably should have gone, he sort of split two of the forwards for the United States team, that being Ernie Stewart and Mark Chung, not really finding either of them.
I sense there, too, that Chung held up on that a little bit. He was close enough to the ball perhaps to strike it, but maybe felt, in a young player in his first start, feeling that someone maybe with a little more experience further into the box was going to take that. Now Chung, number 13, trying to get the ball back for the U.S. as it comes across to Ned Zelich, number 4 for Australia. Still scoreless with unofficially 15 minutes remaining here in the first half at the Citrus Bowl. Chung doing a nice job here, and he is grabbed onto by Bozanowski. And another foul against Australia.
Randy, another example there of Australia just not being afraid of mixing it up a little bit. That if they're going to lose the ball, they're going to make you lose a little bit of skin or something as they turn it over.
The last two, you lose some of your uniform. And Stewart tried to play it back over to the far side and puts it between teammates as it goes out. This game is being televised back to Australia as well, and it is 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow there as they cross the date line, of course. So they're enjoying Sunday brunch with the Australian national team, or the Socceroos as they're known in Australia.
So in Australia, does that make it a Saturday game or a Sunday game?
I think it's a Sunday game. Michallik. Savage couldn't control it. Armstrong this time is his jump as the play is scrambling. And Quinn has it go out. And now the throw in for Australia. This has been quite an arduous trip for Australia. They came all the way from their continent and country, flew to Montevideo, Uruguay, only to find out that the game that they had scheduled there against the national team of Uruguay was canceled because of poor weather. So they got on a plane, came back to the Orlando area to play this game, of course. After this, they will go to Argentina and play there midweek of next week, and then go back to Uruguay to make up that game, and then go home to Australia. It's quite a road trip. Zabika drops it down to the left side, and now Zelic, number 4. He scored both the goals in that 2-2 tie at the Netherlands that got Australia into the Olympics. And for a defender to come through with a big offensive clutch effort like that on the road and add a world soccer power like Holland, that is saying a lot. Blagojevich gets set to throw in now from the near side. Kicked away from number 6, Paul Wade, but it went off him last, according to the linesman. And a goal kick now for Tony Meola. Well, as far as what's in the future for Australia when it comes to qualifying for the World Cup, they have to get out of their half of the Oceania region. They'll play the Solomon Islands, of course, and Tahiti back-to-back home and away, and then back at the Solomon Islands. Then if they emerge out of that group, which everyone expects them to do, they'll have to play the winner of the other Oceanic group, which everyone expects to be New Zealand. Then the winner of that will have to play the runner-up of CONCACAF, and then the winner of that will have to play the runner-up of Group A in South America group, and that person, or that team, gets into the World Cup. It is a convoluted formula, to say the least. Here is Michallik, and off the leg of Durakovic, and out of play for a corner kick now for the U.S., as Michallik is very active on that left side, Rick, and he's making a lot happen.
He's making a lot happen because he's getting forward while the Australian team, as we see the replay here, Yannick will go ahead and try and strike the ball across the mouth of the goal. Defender doing what defenders should do in that situation, sticking out his foot. A little spooky there from a goalkeeper's perspective, because that's how you get a redirected ball at your goal and have it wind up in the net.
Now Stewart on the corner. And untouched to Zabika. And he will just hold it and wait for the 18-yard box to clear. Well, coming up for the United States World Cup team as our World Series of Soccer continues, we'll be at the campus of Rutgers University, New Brunswick, New Jersey, on Saturday, June 27th, the Ukraine against the USA. We hope you can join us for that one as we continue to bring you all the best action of the U.S. World Cup team as they head to 94. Towering kick by Zabika all the way into the box, and Meola has to make a play in order to stop the forward up there from creating some problems for him. Or Spink got up field in a hurry and almost got himself a chance to score Australia's first goal.
And Randy, in that situation, I'd like to see Ed Cummings, the referee, make a more direct remark than just calling a simple foul to Warren Spink there, because he sized up the situation and almost went at Tony Meola as if it were an opportunity to either jar the ball loose or potentially even hurt them. And a goalkeeper is so vulnerable as he's up in the air trying to play the ball.
Clavijo now throwing in to Desmond Armstrong. Desmond, number 15 from Columbia, Maryland. Perez, he's tracked down from behind by Durakovic. Now Durakovic working it out to Aurelio Vidmar. Gets the cross. Far post, and up goes Clavijo. Out jumps his man, and it'll come throw-in for the Aussies.
And throw-ins in this part of the field can be so dangerous, especially if you have someone like Australia does, that being number 2, Milan Bogojevic, who can make a long throw-in.
Tossed in, headed out by Quinn. Chung tried to set the table for Perez, but it's deflected. Now Tony Vidmar, number 8. Nice move through the box, got by Savage. But then Quinn Murray getting back out of midfield helps out the cause defensively. And Meola's able to settle things down again as Tony Vidmar, the 21-year-old youngster from the Australian Olympic team, with a nice bit of skill inside the box there, beating a veteran Bruce Savage. Now up for Stewart, who has really not had a whole lot of success all alone up there in this lineup that Bora Milutinovic has put together today. Stewart essentially playing up there by himself as a forward.
And certainly the intent is to try and allow there to be more space when you play with a lone striker for other players to move forward from withdrawn positions. The United States team, though, still seems to be trying to sort the new lineup out a little bit, that being the fact that there are 6 new starters. When I say new starters, a lot of these players have, in fact, started before in other games and on a regular basis. But they're still sorting out one another because it's been 3 games at least that this unit has been together. And it's a difficult thing because so much of what happens in soccer is how the unit plays versus how the individual plays.
Desmond Armstrong to Fernando Clavijo. Now Marcelo Balboa from his sweeper position across midfield. Murray backs up for this one and loses it. And now an offside as Spate got good quickness, but he's not able to beat that offside trap the U.S. has employed so far. It hasn't been as deliberate a trap sometimes as others. In that case, the United States really was a little more upfield to begin with.
Well, and once you recognize that the team you're playing against is in fact trapping, what you have to do is make adjustments, run players from behind, and in turn pump the ball as if you're going to play it forward, allowing to see if they are in fact trapping.
Nice play by the U.S. as Quinn now gets away from Aurelio Vidmar. Back through for Perez. Has it on his left foot. And now he's run into, and a free kick coming up. This will be from 19, 20 yards out as Perez goes crashing onto the turf here at the Citrus Bowl. You knew Perez was trying to work at left foot again. He made that nice little dip of the shoulder and move right here to get away from one man.
Yeah, Hugo's gotten around one man there. We get to see what happened when he encountered the third man, that being a forward that was coming back. Number 11, Vidmar, who fouled Hugo. But a great opportunity here because the foul that just occurred was a tripping foul. And that is a direct free kick, which means that for the U.S. team, they can shoot the ball directly in the goal without it having to touch another player. And when you have a player with the ability that Hugo Perez has with his left foot, and in turn a player that can hit the ball with his right foot, such as a Marcelo Balboa, a Brian Quinn, or a Bruce Murray, you have so many different options.
Quinn steps away from the ball now, and Perez will come in and attack with Balboa.
Randy, the U.S. team has put some players into the wall, which only enhances the goalkeeper screening and not being able to see it.
Now Perez gets too much lift on this one. It'll go out for goal kick Australia.
I think Hugo's feeling there is a little bit of disappointment, as we'll see on the replay here. This ball never really started out at the goal. Hugo getting underneath it just a little bit, trying once again to achieve the rotation on the ball, which is necessary to make it curve.
Do you really need to top it to get it over the wall and then have it bend?
Yeah, actually, you're not trying to top the ball. You're actually trying to strike it off center. And as we see the U.S. team players here in the wall that are trying to screen the goalkeeper, Hugo not trying to top it, but trying to hit out from his perspective out on the left side of the ball, which would cause the ball to have rotation or spin, ultimately bending back towards the goal.
Play back on in midfield. Here's Mark Chung, 13. Nice little pass up for Murray. Tried to head it back through. Wanted the handball, didn't get it. And now Perez loses it. Savage keeps it alive to Quinn. Quinn looks for Michallik. Headed down by Bogojevic. Quinn, nice pullback as he shook off Ernie Tapai, number 7. Quinn again, played it right into Durakovic. Perez thinking give and go here with Murray. Murray turns it other side, and there's defenders all around. Perez continued his run all the way into the 18-yard box and was hoping for service at that point, but didn't get it. And now Balboa will waste one from about 28 yards. And this will be a goal kick for Australia.
Randy, the important thing from the United States team's perspective on that play is how they kept finding the open man. They're moving the ball around, searching for that opportunity to get a shot at the goal. Marcelo taking it from probably a little bit too far away, but nonetheless an opportunity. But they moved the ball around, kept finding the open man, and that's an important quality because ball possession is such an important part of the sport. The more you can possess the ball, the logic being that the more opportunities you'll create.
Down under 5 minutes unofficially left here in the first half. It is scoreless. As Zubica sends another one of those long goal kicks of his. This one gets to Tapai. Good cross, but Savage is there. Michallik turns it back over to Paul Wade, but then bears down and wins it for a throw in USA. Clavijo gets set to throw it in, and he will be our halftime guest, part of our halftime extravaganza here from Orlando. Also going to be soccer news from around the world. A number of things to update you on tonight, including the European Championships underway in Sweden. Here's Bruce Murray now, number 4 for the U.S. Ernie Stewart, a la Roy Wegerle, the back heel for Chung. Quinn now battling for it. And Clavijo again there at the front of the 18-yard box intercepting. He's done a good job from that spot defensively for Australia in this first half. Handball now as it came up and hit Tapai, and another free kick for the U.S.
Tapai there showing what in our sport we joke with defenders or midfielders who aren't necessarily accustomed to dribbling the ball so much. A defensive or a midfield type of dribble, that is, give it to the other team and then win it back in a tackle as you move up the field. Give it to another player, win it back in a tackle, and continue to progress your way up the field. I used to dribble that way.
I recall that. Many, many, many years ago.
I was going to say, I think one many was sufficient.
Zelich, who was a lot more active in the first 15 minutes of this game, back defensively for Australia. Tapai waits for this one to come over his head. Collects it nicely now, but he's got double team defensive coverage back there of Clavijo and Balboa, two of the best the U.S. has. Plays it through them anyway, right along the end line. And had he been able to find his man up there, that would have been a pretty clever little ball through.
Randy, I think what he was trying to accomplish there with a number of pumping type of kicking motions at the ball was to get Fernando, as well as Janusz Michallik, who was back there with him, to hold still so he could play it off of them for a corner kick.
Here's Murray now on the feed from Perez. Into the 6-yard box, and it's kicked back out again. And it'll be a throw in U.S. here as the clock is down to 0 here in the stadium. They'll do that from the 2-minute mark on down. So we have under 2 minutes unofficially left in the half. There's a look at the Australian bench. They brought a total of 18 players on this trip, so there's 7 subs over there. Michallik, nicely crossed. Stewart is there, but beating him in the air is Zelich. Now Clavijo on the intercept. And Balboa, thinking better of it, just plays it back to Meola. Aurelio Vidmar was right there, number 11, bearing down on it. We get an idea of the crowd on hand here at the Citrus Bowl. A good one. They're expecting between 15 and 20,000 for this first ever appearance in this facility by the U.S. national team. We mentioned that last game was back in 1980, 12 years ago. That was between the U.S. and Suriname. Remember that game, Rick?
I do, as a matter of fact. I remember having played in that game.
U.S. won that game 2-1. That was part of the Olympic qualifying for the 1980 games in Moscow, which, of course, the United States boycotted. There were 1,500 here for that game, and, of course, there are more than tenfold on hand for this one.
Randy, as a matter of fact, we qualified for the 1980 Olympics, and disappointingly so from an athlete's perspective, we didn't get to go.
Well, the 1992 Olympic team qualified. They went undefeated in their qualification group. Did exceptionally well. And they are on their way to Barcelona. Here is Perez, laying it off far side to Mark Chung. Vidmar on the steal now. Time running down in this first half. All Wade will play it back, and there we get the whistle from the referee. And that is the end of the first half of play here at Orlando. A scoreless tie in this first ever meeting between Australia and the USA. And we'll be back with halftime activities in just a moment.
Get ready for the most extraordinary offer in television history. Now, in addition to NBC's great Olympic coverage, you can order 3 cable channels of incredible non-stop Olympic action, 24 hours a day, with absolutely no commercials. All your favorite events, more tears, more glory, more excitement. The Olympics triple cast. Call 1-800-OLYMPIC to order. That's 1-800-OLYMPIC. The Olympics triple cast. It's an Olympic lover's dream.
On National Geographic Explorer.
Right away, Houston. This is reality. You have the feeling that it's alive.
Experience for yourself man's first steps on the moon 23 years ago.
Charlie, it might sound corny, but the view is really out of this world.
A TBS exclusive. One small step for man. One giant leap for all mankind. 9 Eastern, Sunday, July 19th on TBS.
Todd Rashad here with an important Olympic announcement. If you love the Olympics, especially gymnastics, and you like to see every performance of our great U.S. gymnastics team in its entirety, live with no commercials, then watch this message about the Olympics triple cast.
Now, in addition to NBC's coverage, you can order the Olympics triple cast. You get 3 cable channels of your favorite Olympic events 24 hours a day, including an unprecedented 33 hours of gymnastics. Every tumble, every spin, every vault, every winning moment of your favorite U.S. hopefuls, from the early rounds through the finals, live with no commercials. You won't find this kind of coverage anywhere else. The Olympics triple cast. For the first time in history, you get to choose what you want to watch, when you want to watch it. To order the Olympics triple cast, call 1-800-OLYMPIC. That's 1-800-OLYMPIC. Call now.
Join me for the Olympics triple cast. Call 1-800-OLYMPIC. It's an Olympic lover's dream.
To Orlando, where it's halftime between the United States and Australia. And today's game is brought to you by Budweiser. It's clean, it's crisp, and it's cold. It's the king of beers. That's why nothing beats a Bud. And by Adidas Equipment, the best of Adidas. Everything that is essential and nothing that is not. And by Snickers Bar, official snack of the United States World Cup team, packed with peanuts. Snickers really satisfies. Randy Hahn and Rick Davis back with you at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. Rick, thoughts on that first half, a scoreless first half. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on the United States to do well after what happened over the past 2 weeks.
That's right, Randy. There is a lot of pressure for them to do well because the momentum that they had coming out of Chicago was one that when you play against teams such as Italy, you play against teams like Ireland and Portugal, you would think against a country or a team like Australia that you would have more success. Thus far, the game's been a little bit slow in the regards to scoring opportunities, neither team really having a lot of them.
Well, coming up at halftime, as we mentioned, we are going to visit with the veteran defender for the U.S. national team, number 21, Fernando Clavijo. But before we do that, we have some news from around the world of soccer to get you caught up on. First of all, tonight, as we speak in Oneonta, New York, at the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame, 3 gentlemen are being inducted. Ron Newman, the all-time winningest coach in the history of American soccer, of course, head coach of the 10-time champion San Diego Sockers. Werner Fricker, the former president of U.S. Soccer and the man probably more responsible than anyone for the World Cup coming to the United States in 1994. And Chico Chikurian, an amateur player of legend in the New York and Connecticut area. He later went on to great coaching fame as well, all inducted into the Soccer Hall of Fame tonight. Here is the latest on the European Championships underway in Sweden, the quadrennial event. These are the games so far. Sweden and France tied at 1. Denmark and England a scoreless tie. Denmark in as a last-minute replacement for Yugoslavia, who were banned. The Netherlands, the defending champions, beating Scotland 1-0, a goal by the Dutch Player of the Year, 23-year-old sensation Dennis Bergkamp. And the Commonwealth of Independent States and Germany tying 1-1. Germany, whose coach has insisted that they remain celibate during the entire tournament, tied this one in the 89th minute. Here are the standings. First in Group 1. They are all even, all ties, 1-1-1-1 all the way down the column. And in Group 2, the Netherlands on top with the one victory with 2 points. Then it's Germany, the CIS, and Scotland without a point after games so far. Today was a day off, and they'll resume in Sweden tomorrow. And finally, the 1992 American Airlines Cup, third round tomorrow. Big game for the San Francisco Bay Blackhawks. John Doyle and Dominic Kinnear of the national team are with them to play Real España of Honduras. That's at historic Kezar Stadium tomorrow afternoon at 3 in San Francisco. So that's your World Soccer news for this week. When we come back, we'll get the latest from Fernando Clavijo, the veteran defender for the U.S. national team, as we continue here on the World Series of Soccer.
Why is the new phone card from Sprint not just another calling card? Now your card number is based on your home number, so it's easy to use. It'll deliver a message for you, even to someone whose line is busy. Lets you set up your own three-way conference calls. Info hotline lets you check stocks, weather, sports, even news. Call now and it even comes with 100 minutes free. Try getting all that with another phone company's calling card.
Most guys kick back on the weekends. Jack, on the other hand, good. So, how do you feel?
Ready to rock and roll.
Only one beer has the taste as genuine as the people who drink it. Budweiser.
Tomorrow,
we're sleeping in.
Henderson marking his man. Did not get a handle on it. Crossing ball, saves Meola, and he stays over the line.
Tony Meola has done it again.
Hi, I'm Tony Meola, goalkeeper for the United States World Cup team, and these are my friends from the Youth Soccer Association. Youth soccer is for everyone. It's easy to play, it's healthy, and most of all, it's fun. So get involved in the Youth Soccer Association because it's the game for kids. Yeah! For more information on your local Youth Soccer Association, call 1-800-4SOCCER.
We're back in Orlando as the World Series of Soccer continues, with the United States playing Australia tonight in a scoreless tie. Well, back in the late 70s, he came from Uruguay to play indoor soccer. Back in '87, he became a naturalized American citizen, and for the last year and a half, he has been a mainstay of the U.S. defense. 34-year-old defender Fernando Clavijo, and we had a chance to talk to him before tonight's game. Fernando, you've just come off as a team a very successful U.S. Cup tournament. What has it meant to this team?
Well, first of all, I tell you the true confidence is being great for us right now. We won a tournament that nobody even expected us to make 2 points out of the 3 games that we play. But, you know, the confidence is up. We know right now that we can play, but it's a lot of things that have to be learned, and we have to be working from '94, and that's what we're going right now.
It's been a while since all those players from Europe got together with you guys. Were you surprised at the result?
I was surprised. No, I think everybody was surprised. But, you know, like I said before, it's going to be 11 guys against 11 guys on the field. And I say it that they're going to have to come and take a game away from us. We're not going to give it to anybody. And that's what we did. We worked very hard for every game and for every goal we scored. And I think we deserve everything that happened to us.
From a defensive standpoint, you guys as defenders, and we'll talk about your group for a minute here, you faced Niall Quinn from Ireland, a great striker. You faced Cadete from Portugal, a great striker. Roberto Baggio, Gianluca Vialli from Italy. These are all world-class offensive players. And with the exception of the one goal by Baggio, you shut those players down. What does that mean for the confidence of your defense?
Oh, it's great. I think every game we play, you challenge yourself. You know, it's been said that American players cannot compete on a world level, and I think we've proven a lot of people wrong. When you play against people like Baggio and things like that, you know, it's a very excellent challenge for us to prove it wrong to everybody else. And I think we did, but it's just, you know, a couple games that we have very successful results. I don't think we should take that things for granted, because there's a lot of things is going to happen from now on until '94, and we have to keep working as a team for that, exactly for that tournament.
Let's talk a little bit about Fernando Clavijo right now. Last year, you played in the Major Soccer League for the St. Louis Storm. Near the end of the year, you accepted the dual role as playing head coach. What about next season? Are you going to coach that team again and play for them?
Well, I definitely don't think so. I think that the opportunity that's been given right now to play for the national team is great. I think it's a dream come true in any professional soccer player, more than my stage or my age right now. I was very honest, to tell you the truth. I was very proud to be a coach of the St. Louis Storm. Dr. Havadma, Mr. Milan Mander, you give an opportunity to coach a team, and I think we did pretty well. But I'm not ready to coach right now. I think I have an opportunity to keep playing a couple more years and make that dream come true in '94 World Cup and be a part of this team.
You're 34 now. You're the elder statesman on the team, oldest player, most veteran. Some players by the age of 34 are well past their prime. I don't think that's the case with you. You're obviously able to compete at this level. Can you compete this level through the World Cup?
Well, it's something, I guess, that nobody knows, and even myself. But it's a shot definitely I'm going to take, and I'm going to give him my best effort. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I'm not going to have remorse later on to say I should have tried it, I couldn't make it. If it doesn't happen, it's because the board is going to say no more, I think it's enough, and that's it for me, but I'm going to give him my best shot.
Fernando Clavijo, defender for the U.S. World Cup team. And we'll be back here in Orlando with more of our halftime in just a moment. You're watching the World Series of Soccer.
Get ready for the most extraordinary offer in television history. Now, in addition to NBC's great Olympic coverage, you can order 3 cable channels of incredible non-stop Olympic action. 24 hours a day with absolutely no commercials. All your favorite events, more tears, more glory, more excitement. The Olympics triple cast. Call 1-800-OLYMPIC to order. That's 1-800-OLYMPIC. The Olympics triple cast. It's an Olympic lover's dream.
Want to do something really, really nice for your friends? Next time you go out with them, if they're going to be drinking alcohol, offer to be the designated driver for the evening. That means you stick to non-alcoholic drinks and drive everyone home safely. Next time, one of them can do the same thing for you. You could be saving them from being arrested or having a serious accident. You could even be saving their lives. Now that's what I call a friend. For more information on drinking and driving, write the Will Rogers Institute, White Plains, New York.
To unlock your body's potential, he proudly offers Soloflex, 32 old-fashioned iron-pumping exercises, each correct in form and balance, all on a simple machine that sits in the corner of your home. For a free brochure, call anytime.
This weekend, we're throwing you a line you can't resist. Go fishing and hunting with some of America's leading experts in the field or in the water. Spend some time with the best in outdoors. See it exclusively on Sports Channel America. Get on basketball's fast track with the World Basketball League Game of the Week.
Las Vegas showtime. Yeah.
The WBL Game of the Week, only on Sports Channel America.
Some last vestiges of twilight here in Orlando as we are at halftime. The United States and Australia scoreless. Time now for the Budweiser Halftime Report. And as always, it is brought to you by the King of Beers. Nothing beats a Bud. Not a scoreless first half, Rick Davis, but not without some chances. Bruce Murray had a great one for the United States in his first half on a free kick.
That's right, and Bruce here taking a good long run at the ball. Marcelo Balboa stepping over it, trying to get some movement out of the wall, and Bruce just absolutely belts the ball off. Center a little bit, striking it to cause rotation, and man, that one didn't miss by much.
Almost getting goal number 18 in his career. Now, a couple of minutes later, Australia with an opportunity on the other end against Tony Meola.
That's right, and this is what we call a timing run in the game of soccer, because at the time the ball is played, the player is not in the position that he will be at when he receives it. Here, number 7, Taipei playing the ball across the goal, and watch just in the corner of your screen appearing is number 11, Vidmar, who will volley the ball with his left foot. Not able to get it actually at the goal, but once again, golden cross, good opportunity. Not resulting in a goal, but some excellent play there from the Australian team.
And this has been the Budweiser Halftime Report, brought to you by the King of Beers. Nothing beats a Bud. And players making their way back out onto the field for the second half as we look at the statistics. United States out shooting Australia 4-3. No saves recorded for either keeper, Zabika for Australia or Tony Meola for the U.S. Australia with the more aggressive approach, 8 fouls to 4, and with the 5 offsides, and we saw those repeatedly. A corner kick each and 1 yellow card handed out. That was back in the 16th minute to Durakovic. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the Authority of Soccer USA Partners and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, and or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent, almost got through it all, of Soccer USA Partners is prohibited. And we are set to kick off. United States in white, playing it back to Hugo Perez as we are underway now. And there has been a change in goal, most notably for the United States. As expected, Mark Dodd now in goal for the U.S., the 26-year-old from Dallas, plays for the Colorado Foxes in the APSL. And he's now between the posts for the U.S. as Tony Meola gets 45 minutes of rest.
That's right, Randy. And also for the United States team coming into the game is number 16, Mike Sorber. A trend that we've seen of late with Bora and nursing Mr. Bruce Murray back to health is that Bruce has come out of the game and once again being replaced by number 16, Mike Sorber out of St. Louis University.
There's 21-year-old Mike Sorber, a native of St. Louis, making his 8th appearance internationally for the U.S. World Cup team. Of course, teams attacking opposite ends now as the U.S. in white goes left to right. Desmond Armstrong, number 15. Now Perez, a short ball to Mike Sorber. Sorber tried to find Armstrong back on the edge of the 18-yard box, but the pass a little off, and Armstrong, I don't think, quite expecting that, as he was a little reluctant to make that run out of the back.
Right, and also a good thing that we saw there from Hugo Perez there, giving Mike a word of encouragement as a veteran player to a rookie, so to speak, coming into the team, encouraging him, saying, hey, it was all right. Doesn't have to have worked the first time you make a pass. Keep your head up and get back in there and do the same type of thing.
Gasp from the crowd comes out as we get some lightning flashes here in the area. And as we said in the earlier part of the telecast, the World Football League team here is the Orlando Thunder, and they aren't kidding. It was booming here at times last night and through parts of today.
Randy, strategically for both teams, starting off just first with the United States team, is what they've got to do is they've got to have their center forward, that being Ernie Stewart, play a more active part in the development of the attack. Thus far, we haven't seen much of him, and that will create more opportunities wide, which is where we have seen the United States team succeed a little bit.
As far as true forwards on the bench, Bora Milutinovic really only has one, and he's a rookie who's never played for the U.S. before. Alan Trampin from SMU, an All-American there, looking, I'm sure he would hope, to get his first bit of action here today, and if the score holds for much longer, he might. Number 9, Spink playing it back. This is Robert Zabika, the goalkeeper for Australia. He's from Perth, which is way over on the western side of Australia. Plays at Adelaide City now in the Sydney area. And that's a long, long bit of ground to cover for a player being discovered way over on what essentially is the other side of the continent. He was a cricket player of renown until he was in his early 20s, and he developed a very bad back, and his doctor told him that he ought to give up cricket, and he decided to play goalkeeper, and he is very quick, good reflexes, very cool. And here is a chance for Australia now inside the 18-yard box. That was Spink being spun around, and then Dodd picking up. But to finish the story, Zabika comes in as a goalkeeper and does very well as we look at Dodd there again.
I'd like to meet this doctor that told him give up cricket because you've got a bad back and pick up goalkeeping in soccer.
Does seem like a strange transition. Now the U.S. breaking. This is Michallik again, who's done brave work on the left flank today. This cross doesn't get through. And now back the other way comes Australia. No score here in the second half in Orlando. Randy Hahn and Rick Davis, we are at the Citrus Bowl. Ball played far post. Dodd bobbled it a little bit, but grabbed on ahead of Ned Zelich, number 4, coming in.
Tough circumstances for Mark to have to come into a game in a situation where it is so close, being 0-0, and then in turn being tested so early on, having to come out and play the ball a couple times, as we'll see on the replay here, having to come off of his line to cut off a cross to keeping it from being a dangerous situation.
U.S. coming back the other way as Sabika picks up. Dodd is, as we said, from Dallas and plays in the APSL right now for Colorado when he's not with the national team. 26 years of age. His record this year is 0-2-1. So Tony Meola has been in goal for every one of the U.S. 4 wins this year. Dodd has not picked up a decision in that regard this year. He does have a shutout, however, in his appearances. This is his 11th all-time for the U.S.
And Randy, about Mark Dodd is that there's been so much talk about the talents of Tony Meola. Mark Dodd is an incredibly talented goalkeeper, has a lot of the tools, but with the way Tony has played thus far, he finds himself in a backup role.
Well, you may have seen that bright flash of lightning here at the Citrus Bowl. It's not that really a big deal for the locals, though, as we get a foul in midfield on Bozanowski, number 10. And Perez will set up for the free kick. Just 10 or 12 yards across the halfway line. There's the thunder of which we spoke.
I don't know about the locals not getting a charge, no pun intended, out of that lightning there. It's kind of like saying to a Californian, is it a routine earthquake or not?
Now the referee has come over to the sideline. He is talking to one of the game officials, and there may be some concern now for the safety on the field because of the threat of a lightning strike here at the Citrus Bowl. And there is obviously a responsibility on the referee's shoulders to make sure, I think, that everyone is safe, not only in the stands, but on the field as well. And I would just be guessing, but I would think that's what was discussed over on the near side.
And the discussion actually was with Tom Meredith of the U.S. Soccer.
Now it's cleared back into midfield, and Mark Chung will chase it down, and it goes out of play. Clavijo will throw it back in for the U.S. We are early in the second half. There is no score. Armstrong trying to flick ahead for Perez. Aurelio Vidmar, who had that volley opportunity that we looked at halftime, laying it over to number 2, Blagojevich. And now Clavijo with a steal, and now Fernando with his blazing speed, just about getting to it in time and forcing the defender back there to kick it out. Alex Tobin, number 3, had no choice but to get rid of that, as he saw Fernando Clavijo, all 34 years of age of him, barreling down the sideline.
Well, here's where just the speed that players are traveling in is concerned. Fernando trying to keep the ball inbounds and moving up the field.
A shot from long distance. Quinn unloading this one from, well, not that far, about 21 yards out, but it'll go goal kick for Australia. Still scoreless here at the Citrus Bowl. We'll be back.
From the cobblestone streets of Costa Rica to the business centers of Brazil, American Airlines is opening doors all over Latin America. For business or pleasure, the best way to 22 cities in Latin America is right through this door. American Airlines.
Get enough of America's first World Cup? You will in Soccer America. How about our national team and the Olympics? Soccer America delivers.
I've been reading Soccer America ever since I went head-to-head against Pelé back in the 70s. I like Soccer America because it profiles personalities. It reports on the pro, college, women's, and international scenes, and focuses on the very pulse of soccer in America.
Call toll-free to learn more about Soccer America, the USA's only national soccer weekly. 18 issues just $19.94. Call 1-800-453-6500 now.
Throw in for Australia, Tony Vidmar, number 21. Tossing it into Warren Spink. And the Aussies will get it back. And we had a clarification as we look at Armstrong while we were away that the referee down on the field, Ed Cummings, came over to talk to a game official here and evidently said that if there's another strike of lightning as close as the prior one was, he in fact will stop the game to protect the players on the field. Thrown in, flick back post, and Dodd gets up and punches it away from Vidmar. Aurelio Vidmar got up there, but Mark Dodd with a good job had to recover after the initial flick on and then push it away.
And Randy, he did a great job of it because his momentum was carrying him towards the near post of the goal, as we'll see on the replay here. He enters the picture running towards the player with the ball. Now he has to stop, plant, and backpedal and jump to keep the ball off the head of number 11, Vidmar, who was ever present waiting for that opportunity to tap the ball in with his head into the goal.
So Mark Dodd really tested for the first time and gets the job done.
Once again on the replay, you see Mark move forward to play it, and then he has to back up, backpedaling, doing some fine footwork. Footwork's such an important part of goalkeeping, where one wouldn't consider it to be, because how your feet move is very often the position that you find yourself in to be able to jump. Mark doing a good job in finding himself with his feet in the right place to leap backwards and box that ball out of danger.
Ball headed out by number 10, Bozanowski. I've got to make a correction here for the geography buffs out there. I said that Adelaide City was in the Sydney area. Of course it's not. Sydney is in New South Wales, which is in the southeastern area of Australia, and Adelaide is in South Australia, really on the southwestern coast. So there is quite a bit of geography between the two, just for clarification. Mark Chung, number 13 for the United States. Wonder if he's been to Australia. As Perez is brought down, and we get a little delay in Hugo picking himself back up. Well, you see the jersey just soaking wet here in the humidity in Orlando. Do you change, as we look at our upcoming game again, we will be in New Brunswick, New Jersey, the campus of Rutgers University, Saturday, June 27th, the Ukraine against the USA. As play continues and a ball out off of Sorber on the near side. When you're playing in a game like this, Rick, do you change into dry new jerseys at halftime, or do you keep the same ones on?
And whenever possible, you do change, because it's let's face it, it's uncomfortable to have a wet, smoking, heavy shirt on, and absolutely, you have the jerseys, you change them.
Here's Sorber now, waiting on the pass from Quinn. And Perez looked for some activity in the box there from Ernie Stewart. He was pretty tied up on the far side, and an easy pickup for Zabika. Headed on by Paul Wade. And now it comes back down as Brian Quinn tries to settle it. Quickly plays it ahead for Mark Chung. Chung, nice cut move. Then he lays it off to Quinn. Now Michallik again on the left wing. Stewart moving into the box. Played back. Chung there looking for it. Knocks it free. Chung centering it, and that's cleared away by Spink. Still alive in the box. And Vidmar, Tony that is, finally clears it out again to Quinn. Here's Hugo Perez. Sandwiched between Australian players, releases to Quinn. Booming left foot shot by Brian Quinn. Ned Zelich there to block that as it comes to Balboa. Quinn tackled, but the ball goes through. Clavijo, neat move, gets it to Michallik. And forced to clear it out is number 6, Paul Wade, for another throw-in deep for the USA. Janusz Michallik having himself quite a night.
And a nice series of passes and varying the point of attack. When you're attacking in soccer, often you find teams that get bogged down attacking one side or in one area. Their United States team moving the ball back and forth across the field. We see another flash of lightning. Moving the ball back and forth across the field, looking for a better focal point or attacking point to go at the goal.
Well, the referee takes note of that bolt of lightning that, again, was very close to the area, although they're not coming with a lot of frequency. And I think that probably is factored into his decision-making at this point. He doesn't seem to be prepared to halt things right now.
Well, Randy, the referee's responsibility in the game is really primarily twofold. Number one is enforcement of the rules, and then secondarily, the safety of the players. And so he would call it if he felt that the players' safety were in jeopardy.
Aurelio Vidmar to Ned Zelich. Zelich, nice ball through. Chance in front for number 10, Bozanowski, but the U.S. recovered there as Bozanowski had to adjust for that turnaround left foot shot. And now the throw-in coming up for Australia.
And the U.S. team getting a little bit lucky there, because had number 10 for Australia, Bozanowski controlled the ball better, keeping the momentum going towards the goal, he would have had a great scoring opportunity.
Tony Vidmar throwing in. Savage just kicks it away from Tapai. Bruce from nearby, I guess we could say, Hollywood, Florida. It's about a 200-mile trip south. Long throw in by Vidmar. Dodd out and grabs it over the head of Aurelio Vidmar. Another sound job of collection by number 18, Mark Dodd. And now Savage across to Clavijo. He's really ready for that. They'll go back for it.
On the throw in here, we'll see the ball being thrown long and into the box. Mark Dodd doing what a goalkeeper should, anticipating the throw, getting out there, getting high up, catching the ball as high in the air as possible, not allowing it to drop low enough for either of the Australian players to do something with their heads.
Well, the rain's starting to come down now here at the Citrus Bowl. We kind of suspected it with the lightning and thunder in the area. And now the ponchos and plastic coats are coming out here. Chung taking it right foot, turning it over left, give and go with Perez. Chung on his way, wound up for a shot, comes free on the deflection to Michallik, to Perez, and Perez miskicks it. This will go out for goal kick, Australia, and we will take a break here from Orlando. Still scoreless in the second half on the World Series of Soccer. We'll be right back.
Most guys kick back on the weekend. Jack, on the other hand, good. So, how do you feel?
Ready to rock and roll.
Only one beer has the taste as genuine as the people who drink it. Budweiser.
Tomorrow,
we're sleeping in.
From the cobblestone streets of Costa Rica to the business centers of Brazil, American Airlines is opening doors all over Latin America. For business or pleasure, the best way to 22 cities in Latin America is right through this door. American Airlines.
Randy Hunt and Rick Davis back at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida. Hope you're enjoying our World Series of Soccer coverage. There's a young man with a poncho on as the rain starts to come down here. There's lightning in the air, thunder booming. I feel like Willard Scott right now. Actually, my girth is somewhat not as wide as Willard's, but as we continue to give you weather updates here. The update on the scoreboard is 0-0, and the United States, I think somewhat disappointingly so far, unable to capitalize against this not as experienced Australian team, although not to denigrate the Australians. They have some outstanding players who have been working abroad, and it shows in their approach here today. But I think, Rick, anything short of a win for the United States by their own standards and those of that man, Coach Bor Milutinovic, would be a disappointment.
I think so, and especially in light of the conversation and talk that took place prior to this game. People expecting a blowout. You just don't often see blowouts very often in this game, and when you have players that Australia has that have tremendous individual ability, to once again have a blowout would be surprising.
Tony Vidmar down on the field, and this will create a good opportunity now for Australia, as they will get it about 21, 22 yards out from the USA goal, and number 4 Ned Zelic lines up to take the free kick. At least he's part of the group of 3, along with number 2 Blagojevic and number 10 Bazanowski.
Randy, this situation here is a little bit difficult to consider shooting directly at the goal because it's so far off to the side. Goalkeeper allowing to find a more central position in the goal, thereby being able to cover both ends.
It's played to Blagojevic. He'll drive it and into Quinn. So a little different look there by the Aussies on that restart. And now it's out for USA throwing. Well, you talk about big wins for Australia. I guess if you look back in their history, the biggest ever would be for them in Sydney back in 1988 when they beat the reigning World Cup champions at that time, Argentina, 4-1 in a big tournament in Australia. And talking to some of the Australian journalists here, aside from the victory that got them into the '74 World Cup, that would be one of the biggest victories ever. Now we are getting a discussion back on the field again. There's Ed Cummings, the referee, talking things over with some of the Australians, and they're going to the locker room. We are going to stop this game. Players are leaving the field. And this is a brand new one for us, Rick Davis. Have you ever, in all your games internationally and with the New York Cosmos, ever had to leave the field for lightning?
Not, Randy, not because of lightning. And as we speak, it is flashing ever more quickly. Not because of lightning. It's just one of those situations that in the places that I've played, have not encountered that often. But once again, the referee's responsibility is part, in turn, the safety of the players. And he, of course, that being Ed Cummings, has felt that the players' safety is in jeopardy a little bit, and therefore he's taking all of the players, both on the bench as well as out on the field, to the locker rooms or the safety of some shelter.
Now, we will await an official word as to whether or not this is a postponement, whether this is a delay, or what. But in the meantime, we'll wait for some sort of an official announcement, and there is some lack of clarification at this point as to whether or not we will continue. For now, we'll say we will when this storm passes. It is a temporary suspension, we are now told, as we hear an announcement from the public address. Stay with us. We think we have more to come.
It was just another Saturday afternoon until those old guys came out of the woods. The axes. Just when we thought it couldn't get any weirder, it did. They even brought their own music.
Awesome! Hey, fellas, how about a cold bud?
A bud? Obviously, we thought alike.
Oh, that's cold.
I'm not exactly known for being subtle, so I told Sprint the phone card had too many complicated numbers. Well, they fixed that. The new phone card has fewer numbers to dial, and the card number is even based on my home number. So now it's a lot easier to use. Of course, they'll probably say it was all their idea.
Welcome back to the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida, where we are in the second half. Randy Hahn along with Rick Davis. And if you have just joined us, we are in something that I've never been in before, a lightning delay. There's rain delays, but I guess on golf courses it's not uncommon to have stoppages of play because of lightning, especially after Lee Trevino was hit a number of years ago. And the last thing we want is anybody to get hurt here in Orlando. And we have a situation right now where the game has been stopped by referee Ed Cummings because of the rather inclement weather here in the Central Florida area. It is scoreless. The United States playing Australia for the first time ever in the history of the two countries. We're going to look at some of the highlights from the second half, none of them lightning related. This is a save by Mark Dodd, who came in to replace Tony Meola here in the second half, Rick Davis.
And actually a very good save, not because of only what Mark has to do, but because of the fact that he just recently entered the game, coming in at halftime to replace Tony Meola. The throw and going over his head. The replay here is that we will see the United States team on the attack, moving forward. Michallik taking a blast from out wide, shot going a little bit off to the side, not going directly at the goal as he had intended it, but nonetheless an opportunity for the U.S. team.
Well, Dodd has been really active since coming in the second half and has really asserted himself well. Here's another save off a flick from a throw-in, and the great job here was, well, actually this is a different play. This is a direct grab, but there was also a play in the second half where Dodd reacted off a header, a flick back to the far post, and made a great adjustment. And Mark Dodd getting an opportunity here to show what he can do. And this brings up an area of considerable conversation in soccer circles. Who will start in goal for the United States in 1994 in the World Cup? In 1990, it was Tony Meola in Italy. 2 years from now, Meola right now is the player to beat. He has the position nailed down.
Yeah, he actually has established himself as being the front runner in terms of that position, but competition in terms of the United States team leading up to the 1994 is fierce, as we saw back with the USA Cup. So many new players coming into the team and really giving the team a lift and a boost, and in turn making strong statements for their inclusion in terms of the team then. For a guy like Tony, well, he's been there. He led the team back in the 90 World Cup. He's shown that he is right now the front runner, but with guys with the talent of Mark Dodd, player that's playing with our Olympic team right now, Brad Friedel, hey, there is some pressure, and Tony's got to stay on his toes.
Let's not leave Casey Keller out of the equation as well. He was on the roster for the U.S. Cup, which Dodd was not. But Friedel may be the dark horse in all this. He played so well in the Olympic qualification. Bora Milutinovic was down in Mexico and Honduras to see him. He was very impressed with the way that Friedel played. He's tall, he's bigger than Meola, about 6'3", 6'4". Tony goes about 6 feet and is a stockier player than Friedel. But Friedel's got the Olympics in Barcelona to really show how far his game has progressed and whether or not he can challenge the Kellers and the Dodds for Tony Meola's position, which, of course, Tony's going to do his best to hold.
You bet. And to say that he's a dark horse, I think might be a little bit of an understatement, because with that type of ability, I'm not so sure that he is a dark horse, because he's got the tools, he has the ability. In terms of the qualification effort, if we go back to what the United States Olympic team did in their road to qualifying for the Barcelona Olympics, both in Mexico and back in the United States, Brad came up with some spectacular saves, which to a coach, that's a lot of what you want to see your goalkeeper do. Plus, he ends up doing the routine. So he's got some talent.
Occasionally some inconsistency in his game as well, but that's to be expected from a young player. If you are just joining us, we are in a lightning delay here in Orlando, Florida. We are live on this Saturday with the United States hosting Australia for the first time. The stands are sort of semi-full. Actually, more people are still in the stands, but under cover right now with some light rain coming down as well. The concern, though, is over lightning, as referee Ed Cummings has stopped this match. Just a little under 20 minutes into the second half, we had some very fierce flashes of lightning right over the stadium, one or two big boomers, and then Ed Cummings, after some initial consultation with an official on the sidelines, decided to stop this thing. It's not because of the rain. Soccer's one of those games that you can play through the heaviest of downpours, but this delay is for the concern over the players of lightning.
Randy, I guess Australia's got to be thinking about what kind of a road trip has this been, because as we mentioned before, they took off originally bound for Uruguay, got there, we're all set to play a game, and the game there got canceled because of fog, of all things. They come to the United States, now the game gets postponed because of lightning. What's next?
Now, believe me, if the Australians are in fact the United States, they're going to make many a trip, not only within their own region, but to Central and perhaps even South American as well. The fans are enjoying this here. As we said, the first U.S. national appearance in this facility for the last 12 years, and they're hanging in, as we will hear from the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. Standing by with us and getting ready to join us will be U.S. national team forward Roy Wegerle, who's here attending, and when we come back.
From the world of international soccer comes soccer.
On the World Series of Soccer with Australia and the United States in a scoreless tie in the second half, and we still, once this thing gets going again, have about 25 minutes left to go. I'm Randy Hahn, joined by a gentleman who's becoming like a broadcast partner. He has been a regular fixture for us throughout the World Series of Soccer and the U.S. Cup games after his arrival from Blackburn in England, where he's been playing professionally for the last several years. Roy Wegerle, one of the newest members of the U.S. national team. Roy, before we talk about you and about your play so far for the U.S. team, have you ever been in a lightning delay before?
No, I haven't, Randy. This is something new for me. The weather in England is a lot different than this, so this is a new experience.
Yeah, I would imagine it is. We've had stoppages in other sports before, but usually soccer goes all the way through 45 minutes and then some. Any thoughts on how it might affect this game should it go on for some time?
Well, I think the players don't want to be standing around too long, obviously, because they'll lose their, they'll get stiff and they'll stiffen up, really, and I think they want to be out on the field as quickly as possible, but playing in this weather condition is not very good, and I think the refs have done the right thing.
Roy, I guess what some of the fans out there who are watching may be wondering is, what's this guy doing with a dry shirt and his hair all well coiffed when his teammates are out there on the field?
Well, Randy, I spoke to Bora in Chicago during the tournament, and really I just needed a rest. I've been playing for 11 months now in the English League, and it's a long, hard season. And the tournament in Chicago and Washington was tough as well, so I've got 3 or 4 weeks now before I need to get back to London, and I just needed the rest, and Bora, just seemed to agree with me, so I'm glad I'm sitting up here and not in the lightning.
Your brother, Steve Wegerle, of renown here in the Florida area, and of course in his days in the North American Soccer League with a number of clubs in this area, and you're having a chance to visit with him too, I understand.
That's right, yeah. He lives in Tampa, and we've been playing some golf and just spending some time together, so that's nice for me. I like to come back here every summer. Well, I do come back to Florida every summer, and I just enjoy the lifestyle here, so it's nice and relaxing for me just to be away from the game for a few weeks.
Roy, you've had a week or so to digest the U.S. Cup now and the 3 games you played with your new teammates for the U.S. World Cup team. Your thoughts now as you look back on the 3-game tournament, which was so successful?
Well, I've spoken to a lot of reporters since I've been here, and a lot of them are very impressed by the way the U.S. team performed in that tournament. But I've been very impressed by the players that are in the squad. Not only the European players who have come over here and played, but more with the American boys who are based in this country and are playing as many national team games as possible. I've been very impressed with the talent and with the squad, and I think there's a good future for this team. Whatever 22 are involved in 94, I think the US are going to be a hard team to beat.
Roy, you raise an area of sensitivity, and that is the foreign-based players, some of whom just most recently are naturalized American citizens, such as yourself and Tom Dooley, coming here and supplanting some of the lineup spots held by American players. And I bring this up because of the context it was brought into by a recent article in Sports Illustrated related to the U.S. Cup, that essentially the United States has instantly Americanized a foreign team and brought it over here, and really the talent lies in those Americanized players and not the native American players. Your thoughts on that analogy?
Well, you're right. That is a very delicate point, and it's something we're going to have to deal with as a team. Bora obviously wants the best 11 players that he can put on the field, and whether that's going to incorporate a few foreign-based players or mostly American boys is up to him. But we're all American, whether I've been raised in another country or not. I'm an American now, and that's the way I feel, and I have to give my all if I play in an American shirt, and that's what I will do. It's up to Bora and all the team to work this thing out. At the moment, there's been no problem amongst the players in the team, but like you say, when it gets closer to the World Cup, maybe there will be a few awkward situations that we need to deal with, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Roy, you've got a situation where after your summer, you will go back to England, where you make your home now, and return to the English League with Blackburn. How will your experience now here with the U.S. national team and the reality now that you're bound for the World Cup in 2 years, potentially, as a player with this team, affect the way you play in your leagues now? Does it give you an extra carrot, an extra incentive to perform at an even higher level in your league and in England?
I think so, yes. Me personally, I've really wanted to play international soccer for a long time. Now I have that opportunity, so I will play for the US whenever they need me and whenever it's feasible for me to leave my club team in England. But yes, I think that you're right when you say it's an incentive for me to play, because I'm playing against some of the best players in the world, and when we played against the Italians and the Portuguese last week in Chicago, it just brought home to me how important these games are. So, there's no way that I'll take these international games not as seriously as anybody else. I'm looking forward to them, and I really appreciate the position I've been given to play in this World Cup with the US.
Roy, as relates to the English League now, you're coming from Blackburn. There's been a change in the English League, and we're trying to explain and educate soccer around the world as we lead to the World Cup. And for those who may not be aware, there is now a Premier League in England, which is different than the First Division. And your team, Blackburn, is in that Premier League. Without getting too technical and in a short amount of time, can you explain to us what's happened over there and what's changed in that league?
Well, really, it's just a new name for the First Division in England. We have a lot of television companies putting a lot of money into the game in England, pretty much the same as what happens here in the NFL. So it's really the same division. It's just a new name because of all the money that's been put in. So they've called it the Premier League. There'll be more money available to teams to buy new players, and obviously the better players will go to the richer clubs. So which is what happens in the NFL here. So that's really what it boils down to. It's the same teams but with a new name and more money.
As we look back on the field now, the referee, Ed Cummings, is coming back out onto the field, and we will await the appearance of players if that, in fact, is what is to follow. We are in a lightning delay here at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida. We're into the second half with no score. You see the walkie-talkies are busy chattering away here as we try and sort out what's to come next. Cummings, of course, has the final say as to whether or not this game will continue. You see the Secretary General of U.S. Soccer there, the gentleman in the dark suit to the right of the frame of the picture. There he is, Hank Steinbrecher, who obviously has some input here. This is a U.S.-hosted game. There is Mr. Steinbrecher, and we will wait to see if this will continue. Behind him there is the national teams manager for the United States, Bill Nuttall. And it looks the way Cummings is making his way back out onto the field with his linesmen that we are going to resume here, and we will await only then the return of the respective teams. And I see the American players now in the background. They're coming back out onto the field. So it would seem we are ready in a few moments then to resume here at Orlando. Roy Wagerly, want to thank you very much for joining us here in the press box. Would you stay with us a little bit in the second half here to perhaps add some commentary and enhance what already has been an interesting game for us here?
Sure.
All right, we have Roy Wegerle then drafted as a third man in the booth here for incredibly generous pay, I might add, Roy. So just stand by as Rick Davis rejoins us now, accompanied by Roy Wegerle, as we get set to continue here at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. That wasn't so bad, was it? Evidently, based on reports from the National Weather Service, the most serious part of the storm from the standpoint of the electrical activity has passed over our area. There is still rain coming down, and actually it's coming down now heavier than it has all game long, more reminiscent of the type of precipitation earlier in the day, but that is not going to hamper the continuance of this, of course, as the Aussies come back out onto the field as well, and we are set to resume here in just a couple of minutes this first ever meeting between the United States and Australia. Well, Rick Davis, after a 15-minute halftime break, how does this impact on the flow of the game?
Well, it represents an interesting problem for the players because so much of your training is structured for 90 minutes, and that is to go out there and give it your all for 45 minutes, take a little bit of a break, and go out there and give it for another 45 minutes. So we get a look at Bruce Murray, who won't be making it back into action here this evening, but it represents an interesting problem for the players because they do in fact have to get themselves re-warmed up again yet for a second time in the game already.
If you joined us late, Murray did not start the second half, so he is not leaving as a result of this interval. Mike Sorber took his spot beginning the second half of play. It will be the United States in the white attacking left to right as we get set to get underway. As we mentioned, Roy Wegerle, U.S. national team forward, is with us now. Roy, obviously the United States coming off a great tournament. Rick and I were discussing earlier that from your team's standpoint, anything less than a victory over Australia would be somewhat disappointing, would it not?
Well, that's difficult to answer. There's a lot of inexperienced boys in the team today. I think Bora's brought in a lot of younger players, and it's very difficult for them to come in from the cold and produce a good performance. So they've done well up until now, and I think they've been the better team. But it's a bit harsh saying that nothing but a victory would be a good result. We'll see what happens. I think they've done well, and hopefully they can get a goal and win this.
There's the rain coming down, and we are underway once again here in the second half. The United States and Australia with unofficially about 26 minutes left to go here in the second half of play of what has been, up to this point, a scoreless tie. But as we just experienced, not an uneventful one. Quinn lets it go through for Mark Chung. Chung looking back through the middle. I think he expected Quinn to make a run up there from the back. Quinn, who's really assumed a much more defensive posture in midfield than he had earlier in his career in soccer, did not make the commitment.
Eddie Bryan plays such an important role for the U.S. team because he does such an excellent job to keep the ball moving from the midfield position, changing the different places that the U.S. team attacks from, and in turn always trying to find that open player.
Those of us who know Brian Quinn's offensive abilities from his many great seasons with the 10-time champion San Diego Sockers indoors would sometimes like to see him press forward a little more, but that is the decision of Bora Milutinovic to keep Brian back there as a defensive midfielder and help supplant the defense from time to time. There's Brian, originally from Belfast, Northern Ireland, now a naturalized American citizen. What a thrill it's been for him since joining the national team. He's played Ireland 3 times. First in Foxborough a year ago in front of that great crowd, and now most recently again in the U.S. Cup, as well as a trip over to Dublin on his former native soil. Quinn, nice ball to the far flank. Played by Michallik through for Chung, and again Chung with the first-time ball for Stewart. Ernie that time stopping up on it.
Randy, all the players, I think, are having to make a little bit of an adjustment here because the field is clearly wet now, whereas before the break, the delay or post moment because of the lightning was not the case. And so what's going to happen is the ball's going to skip a little bit, and that's always difficult to judge.
Kicked deep again by Zabika, the Australian keeper, and now a throw-in. Roy Wegerle, we've been talking about the physical nature of the Australian team. They're not afraid to mix it up at both ends of the field.
No, that's right. They are a physical team, and they've shown that here tonight. I think what the U.S. can do more, though, is try and utilize Ernie Stewart more up front. He's a lone striker. He has a lot of speed, and I think with the conditions the way they are, the U.S. needs to play a few more balls in behind the Australian defense and stretch them out and let Ernie produced what we know he can do in his pace. So I think we're lacking a little bit in that respect.
Roy, you give us an opportunity to gain an insightful perspective to Bora Milutinovic, that being the coach of the U.S. team, in terms of how he utilizes players. Is he the type of person that allows you, when you were involved with the team in the USA Cup, to go out there and play the way you feel most comfortable? Or, as in the case of some of the players as we've seen, potentially Ernie Stewart, he tends to have a very clear picture in his mind of what it is that he wants you to do?
Well, with me personally, he's let me play my own game, as long as it's within the borders of the team. So I don't know how he's discussed the positions of other players, but certainly I think Ernie needs to be have the ball more down the flanks for him to use his pace, and we haven't seen too much of that up until now. I don't know what Bora's told him, but that's certainly what I feel. I think we can threaten the Australians a lot more with Ernie running at them. So hopefully we'll do that now with the way the pitch is very slippery, and defenders will make mistakes.
Sorber unable to get to that ahead of it going out of play. For now, the throw in for Australia deep in the Aussie end. And now a substitution for the United States. Number 10, Zach Ibsen in the game.
And Randy, he replaced Mark Chung at that same position for the United States.
The rain continuing to pound down here at the Citrus Bowl. It is coming down very heavily, but play goes on. This is number 4, Ned Zelic. The Olympic star for Australia gets by Clavijo, but it goes out of play, and they're going to say it went off Zelic last for the throw-in.
Randy, I'll speculate for a moment as to Bora's thoughts as he brought in Zach Ibsen. Zach, coming to the team, had an incredibly successful run with the Huntington Beach club team that ended up winning what was called the Maguire Cup under 19 national championship here in the United States. The role that he played with that team was scoring goals, and he did lots of that. So I think Bora's got that in mind for his role here this evening.
Here's Stewart, number 12. Nice move back to the line, and then the long cross. Didn't really have a lot of time to measure that. Michallik clearing it back. This is number 10, Zach Ibsen, and now we get a late whistle. Very late, in fact, from Ed Cummings, the referee. Evidently, the ball did cross the plane on the far side and go out. There's Zach Ibsen from UCLA, originally out of Santa Clara, California, making his 9th appearance, only 20 years old. And this is one of the purposes of these games as well, is for Milutinovic to get a look at his younger talent. And he's using that opportunity to its fullest today. We've seen Sorber, we've seen Chung, we've seen Dodd, now we're seeing Ibsen, as Milutinovic runs through the roster and brings on the young blood. Now here's Sorber on the pass from Ibsen, 16. Sorber back through for Perez. Hugo tried to buy the obstruction call, but didn't get it, as he was stood up from 20 yards out, and it's collected by Zabika.
A little bit of a convergence zone there on Hugo. I think the fact that he was trying to buy obstruction, it looked like, in fact, was obstruction. Both players not really making an effort to play the ball, just sort of sandwiching or closing in on Hugo, not allowing him a direct path to the ball.
Here's Perez, back through for Quinn. Looks for Michallik. That is Ibsen, back for Quinn, and the right footer skips wide for goal kick Australia. As Zach Ibsen set up Brian Quinn with one of the rare scoring opportunities here in the second half. Roy, your impressions of the young talent that the United States has assembled for not only this World Cup, but for World Cups beyond this one in '94 coming up.
Well, like I said to you earlier, I think there's a lot of talent in the U.S. team, and certainly in the younger boys who are coming through now and who are playing tonight. This Australian team is no pushover by any means, and I think that the young boys have done well tonight. Mark Chung in particular I was impressed with in the first half, so there are a few more out there who are doing a good job now. And I think we've seen the U.S. team are starting to open their passes up a little now, and I think the conditions have helped us with that, and we're starting to get some goal chances, so hopefully we're going to get one in the next few minutes.
Ball out for throw in U.S. now, unofficially just under 19 minutes left on the stadium clock. They did stop the clock, by the way, during the lightning delay. Normally, of course, in the outdoor game, the clock runs. Quinn, a dipping shot, and diving is Zabika to push it out for corner kick. Brian Quinn with his 4th shot on goal on the evening, and that one gave Robert Zabika all kinds of trouble, Rick Davis.
And what we'll see is Brian receiving the ball and in turn taking a good little cut with it to get open, and then he just simply sizes the situation up and strikes it, and the ball touches the ground only 4 or 5 yards in front of the Australian goalkeeper, skipping and making it very difficult to play.
Now the corner. Zabika punching it and over the end line. Not a good job by Zabika there to get rid of that chance. He was trying to knock it out of play over the side or upfield as we get another look at the release from Quinn and Zabika's diving effort. Now another corner. And again, it will be Ernie Stewart in the corner spot to release the pass. Flicked on. Nobody at the back post for the USA. And it is Janusz Michallik, number 2, touching it out of play, and a goal kick for Australia. Our next game coming up on Saturday, June 27th. We will be on the campus of Rutgers University at New Brunswick, New Jersey. The Ukraine against the United States World Cup team. As, of course, the Soviet Union, as we knew it, is no longer, and the various satellite nations now with national teams of their own, as is the case with the Ukraine. Balboa playing it back to Dodd. Of course, the Commonwealth of Independent States, which really as a soccer entity is expected to break up after the upcoming or the current European Championships. CIS there right now, as we told you at halftime, and played to a 1-1 tie with Germany yesterday. And it really wasn't that good a game until the second half. We have an injured Australian player on the near side now at midfield, and the referee will stop it to bring the trainer for Australia onto the field.
Randy, a little bit of an interesting Ukrainian connection to soccer in the United States here. Former national team coach Walt Chisowicz. Ukraine background, although at that time when Ukraine was a part of a larger country.
Now, the Ukrainian players, per se, are not part of the Commonwealth of Independent States team right now in the European Championships. They withdrew when the Ukraine regained its independence. So the CIS is going it alone from the standpoint of the Ukraine, and that is a big depletion in talent for them. Of course, the Ukraine, a heavily populated area, and many great sportsmen in that region. As we see the injured Australian player being helped off the field now, trying to pick up his number. I believe that's Ned Zelich. No, it is Vidmar, number 8. Indeed, it is Tony Vidmar, and he's going to be able to continue. So he'll walk that off.
Replay on the sideline here, we'll see him go into a tackle and just simply get the worst of the collision, going after the ball, not quite actually getting it, bumping legs, or apparently, potentially I should say, a knee, but not so severe that he was unable to get up and continue to play.
Brian Quinn. Nice ball through the middle, and Armstrong steps up. Number 7, Perez. The flick on is there by Zach Ibsen, but Stewart's run just a little late as it's picked up by Zabika. No score here at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, one of the 9 World Cup sites for 1994. And there will likely be more international matches here between now and the World Cup as they fully prepare this facility for World Cup 94. Really not a whole lot of renovation to be done. There's obviously work to be done on the field to get it to World Cup standards. They will have to take the crown off the field. This is a football configuration where the center of the field is higher than the sidelines for drainage purposes, and it will be a flat table for the World Cup in 1994. Here is Savage. Sorber has it knocked out as number 8 Vidmar backed up to get it. Quinn sends it opposite side for Clavijo. Ibsen tried to collect and turn, but it was forced away. Savage kicks it into Aurelio Vidmar. Now number 11, Vidmar, trying to outrun Hugo Perez. Perez using his arms to hold off Vidmar, and the foul will go against Perez. And that was somewhat predictable, but in that case, Roy Wagerly, that's a good foul for a defending player to take against a dangerous attacker.
Well, that's Hugo defending. It's not what he's used to, really, because he's more of an attacking player, but he's done well to stop the Australian player from getting towards goal, so I guess you can count that as a good tackle.
one of those situations where, from Hugo's perspective, I think a little frustration because he clearly had been fouled initially. Referee allowed the play to go on, so in retaliation, he gets called for the foul.
Bozanowski on the free kick, and Vidmar does not do a good job of this one, but it is deflected. And we will have a corner kick now for Australia as we have a substitution coming in. Number 16, Jason Van Blurk, getting set to come in now for Australia. He's a midfielder.
And I think he's going to be coming on for number 11, Aurelio Vidmar, who has, for my opinion, has been the most potent or most aggressive attacking player for the Australian team.
No question about it. Vidmar has been the class on the field for Australia. We've just had another rather ominous bolt of lightning here, and referee Ed Cummings takes note as the corner kick comes to 16, Van Blurk. As he steps on the field, Dodd with the cross, handling it rather routinely. Still no score, unofficially now under 13 minutes left in regulation. Because this game is considered a friendly, there would be no extra time should it end in a tie. Quinn tried to connect with Perez, and they talk it over after Brian's pass was a good 20 yards in front of where Hugo was standing. Robert Sabika, the Australian keeper, who has not been very busy throughout the evening. Neither keeper has through the half. No saves were credited. The slide tackle missed, but then the flag comes off, and they will call this one offside. Now Mark Dodd. Clavijo kicking it up to center. Stewart coming back for the ball. Now Perez looking to release upfield for Michallik on the left wing. And this will go out of play for a throw in USA. This is number 6, Paul Wade, the captain for Australia. Now the Aussies with something going here, but Savage steps up, kicks this one off of Van Blurk, and it goes out of play for a throw in USA. Well, time now for our American Airlines Something Special in the Air play of the game. And it's Mark Dodd with a nice save, getting up high. American Airlines, the official airline of U.S. Soccer and the U.S. World Cup team, congratulates Mark Dodd for a play that is truly something special in the air. All out of play for U.S. throw-in as we're down to under 11 minutes left in regulation, and another substitution coming up for the Aussies, who have a few extra bodies, as we mentioned. They have 7 on their bench to select from. Coming off in place of number 15 is number 10, Vlado Bozanowski, as 15, Mickey Peterson, a veteran of some 39 international matches, now comes on for Australia as you look at Bozanowski from Sporting Lisbon in Portugal. Head coach of Australia, Eddie Thompson, trying to inject some life into his offense here, no doubt, with the game scoreless. Quinn for Stewart, and Brian hitting that one just a little too hard, but some space, Roy Wigley, opened up for Ernie Stewart there for a change.
Well, the conditions are favoring players like Ernie because the pitch is very wet and the ball's skidding around. So I think Brian's got the right idea by trying to get the ball in behind the defenders and letting Ernie use his pace. So we'll continue to do that. I'm sure we're going to get a goal.
Roy, did you have a particular type of condition that you just dislike playing in, or playing in England? The perception, certainly from this side of the Atlantic, is that you're regularly playing in rain and in cold, and not some of the best conditions to favor the actual flow of play.
That's right. The conditions in England are very wet and almost muddy. But I think these are conditions players enjoy because the temperature has cooled down a hell of a lot since the beginning of the game. And it favors a skillful type of player because you need tight control, and the U.S. seems to be taking charge. Since the rain has come down, the U.S. seem to be putting a lot of passes together and getting in behind, and we've had a couple of close calls. So this certainly favors our play, and it did against the Irish. We had this type of weather against the Irish, and we played some of our best football in it. So maybe we need to play in these conditions more often.
Indeed, the temperature has dropped considerably here, although it would heat up in a real hurry if we got more of that lightning. Here's Quinn to Perez. They'll go wide to the other side for the quick Fernando Clavijo. Stewart, nice flick on. Overlap pass down the left side. The cross block. Back it comes for Stewart, and he misdribbled it. Ernie Stewart with a nice opportunity from 14 yards out, and he couldn't quite control it. Now back to Perez. Clavijo kicked at, but maintains possession to Quinn. Quinn sees an opening. Balboa stepping up from the back, wide on the right. Nice touch to Stewart. Stewart mugged along the near sideline, and it goes uncalled. And now Stewart with a shove, and he'll get the call against Spink on the ball out. Now Mike Sorber to throw in for the USA. Down under 8 minutes unofficially left in regulation. 0-0, and Sorber will leave it for Savage.
And an important step for the United States team is, as Roy had mentioned as well as I, is getting Ernie Stewart involved in this game. Last couple opportunities there are doing just that. And success will come if you can continue to utilize your center forward. It causes all kinds of problems for the defensive team, and in turn creates more openings potentially for other players.
Bruce Savage looks up for Ibsen. Back to 15, Derek Armstrong. Desmond Armstrong, rather. Freudian slip there. I know a Derek Armstrong. Back come the Aussies. Quinn getting in the way of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the attendance for tonight's game, 17,000.
Now it's Vidmar, and it's out of play. You may have heard in the background there the attendance, 17,000 plus here at the Citrus Bowl. And of course, this facility has a capacity considerably larger than that. Here's Stewart with a chance, but it's cleared back, and Zabika's got it.
That's just the opportunity I'm talking about. There was a great ball played in early there for Ernie, and he nearly got hold of that. So
time now, Roy, for our Snickers most valuable player. And the World Series most valuable players are from Australia. Number 11, Aurelio Vidmar. He's on the bench now, but he was outstanding throughout this game for Australia. And for the United States, number 14, the midfielder, Brian Quinn. Congratulations to both players. Snickers Bar, official snack of the United States World Cup soccer team, will make a charitable donation of $1,000 on behalf of these two players to youth soccer in the United States. Free kick now, Australia. Chipped into the box, headed toward goal and in! Warren Spink puts Australia ahead with just over 5 minutes left.
Well, Randy, decision-making is such an important part of the sport. On that particular goal, it seemed to be a little bit of indecisiveness, not only by the defensive part of the United States team, but also by the goalkeeper. Neither one really being convinced or certain as to what it is they're going to do. Defensive players not making the right play in terms of staying tight, and Mark Dodd getting caught in a half position, coming out part way. As we'll see on the replay on the ensuing free kick, he comes out off of his goal line by about 5, 6, 7 yards, but then in turn not far enough out to make the play off the header, but still so far out that he can't get back in for the flick. So as I say, a little bit of an indecision there.
Now another chance for Australia as we're back to the action, and a shot just over the bar. As we get one more look at it on the replay, there's the flick by Warren Spink on a lovely pass by Mickey Peterson, who came on as a sub in the second half. And the Australians have the lead. Spink with the goal, Peterson the assist in the 84th minute. There is Warren Spink, the man of the moment for Australia, born in England, a naturalized Australian. Now makes his home in Melbourne. And right now in Australia, they are cheering Spink, with Australia up 1-0. And now the pressure really on the USA as they have to push forward here just to get the tie. Savage on the throw-in near side. Ibsen chesting it down, but this will be cleared. This changes the face of this game considerably now down the stretch here. The U.S. has to go for it. Tackle administered. Quinn loses the ball. Armstrong back to get it for the U.S. Desmond Armstrong ahead for Quinn. Led him a little far, but Stewart was there. Balboa shot. It's punched over for corner.
Marcelo holding his head there in despair. Here we'll see him receive the ball and then go to shoot it. The ball deflecting off of an Australian defender, making it that much more difficult for them to play on the ensuing shot.
Now the quick corner kick by Perez. He'll get it back on the rebound. 2 men to beat. Fakes left. Now at the edge of the box, looking for the flag. Doesn't get the foul call at the edge of the penalty area. Perez and the U.S. distraught, hoping at the very worst for a free kick, and Perez was trying to buy a penalty kick right there.
Here the replay of the shot on goal that'll come from Marcelo. Watch how well he controls this little touch pass from Ernie Stewart, leaving himself in perfect position to shoot. The shot once again being deflected. And then in turn, the Vika having to make the save. Good little opportunity there. Randy on the foul there with Hugo Perez. We'll get to see here. The problem is not whether or not it was a foul, which on the replay there clearly looks like it is, but the referee was in the wrong position. He was all the way on the other side of the field, having to sort through a number of bodies that could have potentially obstructed his view to see the foul, and therefore the referee's unwritten rule is if you don't see it, you don't call it, and I don't think he ever even saw it.
That was not only a foul, but in the replay it would have been a penalty because that foul occurred inside the 18-yard box, and that will be one to be pondered if this result stands. 1-0 Australia now, and we are down under 2 minutes in regulation. And what a come down this would be for the United States off the U.S. Cup triumph and the tie and the first goal ever against Italy, not ever, but in the last 100 years or so, to lose to Australia.
Randy, it might end up being a come down, but in turn it also, I think, is an important message, and that is a little bit of a wake-up call. And that is that you're only as good as your last game. Yes, there's a lot of positive things that came out of the success in the U.S. Cup that the team had by beating and playing against the opponents that they did. But you got to remember, each game represents yet another opportunity, and
now we get a whistle and an illegal throw-in by number 8 for Australia, Tony Vidmar, and the U.S. will get it. In difference to the last man who scored against Italy, it wasn't 100 years ago. Buff Donnelly scored 58 years ago for the U.S. against Italy. That was in a 7-1 loss, so our apologies, Buff. Now the free kick as Perez is fouled. These are critical now for the U.S. as Perez shouts instructions to Brian Quinn. What should we look for here, Roy Wegley?
Well, I think we've got to get the ball in the box, and we've got to get ahead on it somewhere.
Up high and handling it is Zabika as Sorber put it far post just at the edge of the 6-yard box. Perhaps not enough of an out-swinging bend to it as you almost on a kick like that want to swing it toward the box but away from the goal to hit an attacking forward coming through, but not in that case as Zabika will punt it past midfield. And now the U.S. desperate for every change in possession. It's played wide and long for Van Vleut, but he'll get an offside flag. And now Dodd trying to hurry play. We should have some injury time here. There were a number of occasions where players were down, and again we stress the time was stopped during our lightning delay here, which occurred in this second half, so that will not count toward extra time. Back Ibsen tried to play it through for Sorber, but off the mark. Now Balboa. He'll dribble past Tapai on the far side. Good step-up play by the Australian defense, and they'll come across midfield with it once more. So the steals it back to Stewart. Stewart has Balboa, who was tied up by the defender. Stewart delaying, plays it past midfield. It'll come to the defender, Savage. Now Perez. Look for Perez to shoot if he gets a chance. Ooh, his tripped up play goes on as they give advantage there, and after the advantage call, the opportunity somewhat wasted with a ill-placed shot by Mike Sorber. And Perez, I think, would have rather the play stop there so they could set up for a free kick, Rick.
And I think also Mike Sorber thought that same thing. I think he kind of felt that there no doubt was going to be a foul called on it because of the viciousness that it appeared the foul had occurred, and therefore his shot really wasn't with a lot of concentration on it.
Balboa down to head this away, and then he gets the call, but that is the whistle to end the game. And Australia has upset the U.S. Cup champion, USA World Cup team. The final score, Australia won.